All right, wonderful. Wonderful, good. Welcome, everybody. This is Lessons for Full Spectrum Humans. This is beginning in February 2017, just for the record. And this is the introductory class that I'm beginning with here. So it's level 1. This is the introductory class. And really, I'm just going to dive right in with some of my diagrams because we did already and if you forgive me if I'm not looking at the actual camera when I do this, I'm getting the whiteboard set up. I'm fiddling with technology, but I'm amazed when it works well. Oops, sorry. There's a thing that I have to find, sorry. Bear with me. We will find the thing that I want to find. Here we go. All right. Wonderful. So I'm just starting off with, great. This is an image of a glass painting that I did. And I'm bringing this up, can you guys see it clearly? If you can see it, you can just give me a thumbs up. Good, wonderful. So, and also I can write and draw on top of this. Good, just getting my pen all settled up. Good, so you can see me writing and drawing on top of this. So this is it's a lovely painting, but it died a horrible death because it was painted on glass. That was because I had to learn, that if you do things like that, then that will happen. But I have images of it. It's like a loved family member who died, but you still have pictures of them. And I'm showing you this in order to get an idea of what the chakras of your body are shaped like. So first of all, chakras of the body. Chakra seems to be one of these new age catchphrase words, and people either like it or it turns them off a lot. But the word chakra really just means spinning wheel of energy. It comes from Sanskrit. And the spinning wheels of energy are these shapes that I draw and sculpt here. So first, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to highlight the shapes that I'm talking about. These are the spinning wheels. And so these wheels, that's kind of like, if you had a car that was ready to drive on the wall, like these are the tires of the car over here. But our chakras don't just have wheels that exist at that orientation, they also have wheels that exist at this orientation. So let me now go back to, all right, we'll do this. These chakras are made out of whirling and twirling energy centers. These are not static shapes at all. So I'll go back into the whiteboard and I'll give you an idea of how these shapes are created. But it very much is the idea that, like, if you take a pencil and you swirl a glass of water or liquid, that it makes a vortex shape. The shape itself is made by nothing more, or it's upheld, the structure is upheld by nothing more than the movement of the medium that it is traveling within. So this is the shape that surrounds and interpenetrates your whole physical body, and we'll get into that, and it is made out of the movement of time. When I first started sharing these ideas with everyone, I just wanted to give everyone lasagna. I didn't understand that people didn't understand about time. So I had to rewind and be like, okay, begin the class by just getting everybody on the same page and up to speed of what is time, because this is a big part of the understanding. So I'm going to go back to the whiteboard. Here we go. Okay, good. This is the cross section that I always draw. This cross section is half of one of these donuts. So if we looked at a donut from the top down, here's the outer perimeter and here's the hole in the middle, right? That, what I just drew, I'm now pointing to the outer perimeter with that, and I'm now pointing to the donut hole with that, okay? So this torus shape is created by energy that is moving and whirling and twirling. We'll begin with just a hoop. This is the simplest shape as we're building the levels of the cosmos. This is the simplest shape, just a line that goes around and joins itself. And if we take that simple shape and we move it around in the next highest dimension, what that would end up looking like is like we have many hoops that all overlap and they end up making a sphere. So now I'll just make it, very, very rough lines of latitude and longitude. Now you have the image of a sphere. And if I take that sphere and I move that around in a circle, we end up with the torus shape. This is like the top down, and this is the side view diagram. This is like an actual sphere over here. This is a ball, and the ball is moving around like that. And that motion is what is creating this shape. And this shape, back to me, here we go, this shape is actually two of those donut or torus shapes. So we have one sphere that is whirling and twirling around like this, and then we have one that is whirling and twirling around like this. So as I'm holding this up, it's almost perfectly level with the camera. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4. But what we're looking at is a cross section because the camera is giving us like monocular vision, one eye vision. So you're just seeing the front. But now I'm going to show you this sculpture represents the negative space that is inside of this sculpture. And negative space doesn't mean bad or evil. Negative doesn't, in this context, I'm speaking about it like the way we speak about it in art school, that you have the space that is created by the external structure. Your negative space of your coffee cup is the place that holds the coffee. So this orange shape is the negative space of this yellow shape. And when you look at this now, you understand that you have the front 4 lobes that you see 1, 2, 3, 4, but then you have this whole back end that you did not see because it is a cross section. So I'll count them up with you. We really have 8 lobes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And this, I'm giving you all the backstory that is necessary to begin to start understanding how to make a flying rainbow lasagna, because the flying rainbow lasagna is also an 8-lobed shape. I got 1, 2, 3, 4 on the top, and 1, 2, 3, 4 on the bottom. So this is all giving you the basic anatomy and preparing you to understand when we take this shape and add another dimension to it, we end up getting this shape. Let's just rewind and go back to what are the different layers on your own body. Pardon me while I scroll and find the pictures that I want to share with you. The layers on your very own body. Here we go. Well, here is a good image to begin with. So this is a scratch board, and I'm happy you can see all of the details. That's why I did it on this. Like, you scratch away the black surface layer, which is actually India ink, and there's white kaolin clay underneath it, and then I use watercolors in order to watercolor pigment color each one of the lines. So this diagram shows you the way in which your chakras interrelate, and this has a significance. So I don't know if you guys have done the homework, if you've had a chance to go through the recorded lessons. I don't want to just reiterate or regurgitate or bore you, or especially if anyone has already done all of this, but each layer of the chakras, each one of these has a significance in terms of color. My pen is red, I'm not going to change for every color, but when we begin at the lowest chakra, and lowest does not mean least valuable. Lowest means like, that's the lowest note on my piano. It is the lowest vibration, but we have all of these, English language programs in us and expectations. Like if I say the word negative, you think that I mean evil. And if I say lowest, then you think that I mean less valuable. And it is not less valuable. It is simply lower in frequency. And that level of reality represents your physical body. And everything up from there on this ladder or spectrum just represents a less dense level of reality. So we're looking at each other right now with our physical eyes, and you can see I'm touching my physical face, and I can see you all have physical faces. I'm perceiving this level of reality with my 5 physical senses, but you have this whole entire other layers of reality over there. And so, let's go back into what the different layers are. So, and I'm just going to draw lots and lots of lines on here without erasing. This layer, this is at the level of your guts or your intestines. That is directly below your belly button. It's in the Far East, it is known as your hara or ara. It is an energy center, like a reservoir. And it's a reservoir for emotional energy. That is mammalian energy. That is the level of romantic attraction, desire, possessiveness, revulsion. That's the level in our mind. Oh, so okay, let's do a little bit of, this is your brainstem, and it is known as your mammalian, rewind. This is your brainstem over here, and it is known as your reptilian mind. And it is based in just pure survival, keeping your heart beating, keeping your lungs breathing, and the capacity to procreate and make another generation. This is evolutionary biology. the structures that grow on top of that, this is your mammalian brain. It's your cerebral cortex that contains mammalian emotions. And in terms of evolutionary development, that's the layer of self that mitigates the reptilian self. That the reptilian self says, can I eat you? Can I have sex with you? That's all it cares about. Basic procreation and survival. But the mammalian level of emotion on top of there says, wait a minute, I get more by working together. That's the whole idea. If you need to lift a rock that is heavier than you can lift with your own muscles, you need to find a way to work together with others. Mammals are good at this. It means if I don't try to eat you, you might help me lift that heavy rock over there. Yes, we mitigate our reptilian tendencies with the mammalian layer. And the mammalian layer of emotion is this orange level over here. And up from there, that's the level of the solar plexus. This is yellow. And that's the level of the convoluted surface of the brain, where humans define conscious daily awareness, or the phenomenon of thought arises. It's not the only place that thought arises, but it is where thought at the level of the human mind is. And your human mind is a hacked operating system. So that means it's called the human mind, but it was not created by humans, and it was installed and it is perpetrated against humans. It's very similar to Windows 10. Like Windows 10 is created by Microsoft. You run it on your computer, but it benefits them because they can read whatever they want to off of your computer. So the human operating system is known as the mind. You're not born with it. When you come here, you're like a little tiny, beautiful child, and you are connected through your crown chakra, that soft spot on the baby's skull at the top of their head. You are still connected to the divine, even when you are like a tiny one-year-old child. And as humans begin to learn the human operating system and download the app, it's a viral app known as language. None of these are normal ways for us to use our, we could call it organic computer or software system of your body. These are not normal things to do. These are compensatory modes that we have been duped into having to use because of the, I'll move back to my face so you can see me better, because of the degradation of the human genetic code that happened between 10 and 20,000 years ago. So ordinarily when I'm running this class, like I told you before, I started it in 2013 because I said after I planted my world seed, it is time for humans and this information to get out there and humans to know about all of this. I used to make sure everyone did the lessons in order. First, you're going to learn unconditional love, and then eventually be exposed to these concepts that I'm exposing you to now. It is 2017 now. It's like the gloves are off. There is no time to couch language or to like learn the beginner steps. It's like, no, we all have to dive in right now. So a lot of this has to do with, because it used to be somewhat mind-blowing for people to understand that there are occupiers of the interstices, that there are beings that live, but live is a very loose term, that exist, but that they exist as like overlords of consciousness. In 2013, I had to be really careful about who I shared this information with and under what context. Now it is so widely available. It is definitely a part of the overarching shift in consciousness. So it's right on. Zephyr, you know something, man? Hold on a minute, because you, first of all, I unmute you. No, not unmute all. I just want to unmute you. How can I do that? Oh, I don't know how to unmute just you. There has to be a way to do that. Sorry, man. I know. And there's also a chat. You should be able to, here, I just wrote hi in the chat. So Zephyr's got a question. I hope that you can figure out how to do that. We're working with technology, but we're doing it. Did you figure out, is there a way for you to write your questions so that I can see it properly? Thank you so much. Because if I unmute, then I will simply unmute everyone. The idea is that we are using our human mind and operating system as a compensatory mode. We should all be telepathic. Drinking water. We should all be telepathic, and we should all be using nothing more than our higher faculties. And our higher faculties, I'll go back to that photo that I had. Pardon me while I scroll. Where's that picture? Higher faculties are, oh boy, it's so annoying sometimes to try to do this technology properly. Here we go. All right. The higher faculties, bear with me here, are this apparatus that is right over here. So This is your brow chakra right here, AKA your Christ chakra. But I wish that we could call it something like your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 chakra, because that way it would not be associated with any religion. Because it's not just for people who profess to be Christians or go to a special building on a special day and say certain prayers. This is like a portion of your anatomy. This is literally a lens that is in front of your face, like the way you wear glasses. This lens is your anthropomorphic lens. And it is through that level of filter, through that filter of perception that, thank you so much for tuning in, Kara. The rest is archived and we will send it to you. The filter of perception through which we perceive reality. And this does not just act alone. This level of perception acts along with this. This is your crown chakra. And these two interpenetrating energy centers have a gyrostabilizing effect. So in a helicopter, if this is a helicopter, this is its big body, it has blades that fly around the top, and then it has a rotor that spins around the back. And the spinning motions of these two areas of energy at 90-degree angles. We have one that is spinning around up above our head like this, and one that is spinning in front of our face like this. They are at 90-degree angles. This creates a gyrostabilizing effect. And the gyrostabilizing effect for a helicopter is flying through space to keep it from warbling through space. Pardon me. But the gyrostabilizing effect for us as humans is flying through time. So I'll move back to my face, but keep in mind that I am talking about these higher faculties up here and making sure that everyone can see everything okay. There we go, cool. Your higher faculties are the capacity to perceive time. And I like to say about these levels of reality that this is like your library card of the cosmos, and this is like the librarian of the cosmos. And the idea is time is a frequency of consciousness. I would say that time is not just a frequency. It's like the record, like an analog record on a platter that spins around and makes a song. Like the frequency would be like the song that is emitted. So I really see time as being a structure, like a musical score, a series of notes. But you know, if I'm a musician, I'm playing the notes, we hear them. If we just look at the notes that are written on the musical score, then we see the potential for music. And that's what I really perceive as time. So since it's such a good segue to get into it, I'll draw it based on this shape. So here we see we have this twin chakra shape. And this area right down here is what I call the time vortex. I'm going to draw it so you can see it. This is the time vortex. It's the lower, it could be any quadrant on that. This is a two-dimensional cross-section and a simplification. So ordinarily the energy spirals up this time vortex in a spiral like that. But in order to show this much more simply, for simplification's sake, I am just going to show these lines beginning down here and moving up to the top. So this line down here, this is the level of year 0 or birth, and the time vortex moves forward over here. This would be like age 100. And this membrane over here, this is a flowing membrane. So it is I'm going to draw it really, really thick now, but it's not actually very thick. But we understand that it has energy moving in two directions. You have energy that is flowing away from the source. So that's flowing in this area over here. And then we also have energy that is flowing back to the source, energy that is over here. So this is actually, here's a cross section of the chakra. And we have energy that flows, if this is the source right over here, we have energy that flows away from it. And it goes all the way around here like this, and then it flows back to it. Big, big unbroken circle. And we have the same thing going in the opposite direction. Energy that flows out of here and around to here. So the best way to think about this membrane, let's just change the color so you can see it a little better. This membrane here, think of it like a two-way street. And this two-way street, I call it various different things. I call it the membrane of death. I call it the interstices. It's also accurate to describe it as a membrane between worlds. You know how I was telling you, usually back in 2013, I would wait a long time. I get the students all ready, like get everybody like all buttered up and ready. And then I tell you about the demons. I'm going to tell you about the demons now, okay? Because we don't have time to wait, and everyone knows this is going on. Pardon me, I just have to drink a little something. And Pizzagate is going on right now. Like, this is the whole point. It's just like, if you're gonna run a marathon, you got to do years of training. You do all those squats, all of those jumping, stretching, everything. Then one day it's time to run the marathon. We've been doing for 13 years, since 2013 rather, preparing human consciousness for understanding that we have these overlords that are here oppressing the planet and oppressing you on a genetic level, so that we are prepared to now flying rainbow lasagna and kick all of those oppressors out of the genetic code. It's been like about 4 years. We've got a lot of people now that are on board that aren't going to freak out if I tell you that over here, this level of the interstices, that is the place that is known as hell. That is the area that is occupied by beings that we would define as demons. In previous semesters, what I call them are negative beings or occupiers of the interstices, because the word angel or demon, these are very emotionally loaded, charged terms. And it's hard to get through when we are so emotionally loaded. I'm not a demonic apologist in any way. So I'll just tell you, I'm not a transhumanist and I'm not a demonic apologist. What I tell you when I describe to you about the story, like the backstory of the people that live in this area on these interstices, I give you that information so that you can have compassion, so that you can better navigate your life, not so that you feel like, oh, what they're doing is okay. It's just like finding out the backstory to any villain, you know, in a superhero movie. Like, why is that villain that way? I don't know if I can describe it as dark matter. So Zephyr has just said, maybe this area in these interstices here could be dark matter. I know I'm not a scientist in truth. Like, I'm a walk-in and I came here to this world and I learned a lot of the vocabulary of science so that I could try and share my ideas in the most impeccable way that I can. But I don't really understand dark matter, and I don't know how to share my understanding of this with the science language. But I will tell you what happened, and this goes back to lesson 18. So we're on lesson 1. In previous semesters, what I would do is make you go through 5 months of the whole class and get your unconditional love heart chakra really up to speed. And then we would do lesson 18, where I would tell you all about how this came to be, the interstices. Antimatter. I don't know if I can say that it's antimatter, but let's say it's anti-awareness. That the basic idea is we have 2 different groups in this world. And I want to switch back to me. I'll go back and draw this diagram again so you can see my face when I'm talking. But we have these 2 basic groups in the world right now that are both affecting our lives on planet Earth. We have beings that use technology and beings that don't use technology. And again, ordinarily this would be, you guys have to wait several weeks until we get up to lesson 18, but we don't have time to wait and everybody's ready. We need to talk about this now. I have said that your human operating system, the mind that we use for our daily waking consciousness, and language, these are both hacks, that this is not the original intended format for how we are to use our body or how we are to communicate. And the reason why we are hacked is because a long, long, long time ago, there was a group of beings that emanated themselves from the source. So this central point in there, that's the source of everything. It's the 0th dimension. I like to say, this is like the house where everybody lives. It's the singularity, and it's the singularity that is described by science and defined by science, not the transhumanist singularity. So this is like a convergence point, that all of these timelines point to this convergence point, and it is also the place that they all emanate from. All of these timelines come from here, flow outward into reality, and then all turn around and go back. So someone is saying 0 point, this is from Zephyr. So 0 point is another of these catchphrases where science is starting to understand that if you utilize this torus shape, you can begin to get more energy out of a system than you put into that system. I don't have it prepared for this presentation, but I will encourage each one of you to go to YouTube and check out Rodin coils. I'll write the name for you so you can understand how it is spelled. R-O-D-I-N. This is from the originator, Marco Rodin, and he is another lovely person that has the idea of open source, sharing your ideas with others. Marco Rodin also talks about vortex-based math, and this is the idea that we have a toroidal-shaped math structure and that there are numbers here from 1 to 9, and that it is the vector, the movement of energy across this structure that creates either addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division. It's very complex. I will do a whole entire presentation just about vortex-based math, but the whole point is you can see this vortex here is shaped just like the cross-section of this that I've been showing to you. And back to my face. When people make these Rodin coil is a way of wrapping copper wire around a plastic, substrate very much in this toroidal shape. But you have to get the geometry just right, because when the energy, hello, welcome. I'm so happy to see more people are joining in. Thank you, thank you. When energy flows like this, electrons flow in a wire like this, perpendicular to that flow, you will have a magnetic field. So if you create the wires in just the right shaping so that they create their magnetic fields in just the right complementary way to amplify those waves, when energy is put into a Rodin coil, more energy comes out of it than is put into it. This is what is beginning to be called in the science world zero-point energy. But what you're really understanding is that there is a structure that is a higher dimensional energy structure. And I will make a prediction. Everybody wants to know, how can I make 0-point energy so that I can make like my electric light bulb glow for free? That is a very, very minimal dream. You know what I'm talking about? That's like in the movie The Green Lantern, when the guy who has the Green Lantern, that's the power to imagine anything you possibly could ever want. And he's in a jam, so he imagines for himself a car. I'll imagine a car with my imagination and then I'll drive away. Like, that's the least imaginative thing you could possibly do with the capacity to imagine anything in the whole entire world. So no, we really need to unshackle our imagination and make it possible for us to conceive of greater solutions to reality than what we have been doing up until this point. Yes, we are all here to fly like a flying rainbow lasagna. So as I know this presentation is a little bit, I'm bouncing all around, but we're totally nonlinear. We can do this. Before our genes were squashed about 10 or 20,000 years ago, when these technological invaders of consciousness came to our planet. Remember, I'm telling you things out of order. So this is what I usually say for lesson 18, but the reason why we have to do this is because we are not in our intended format, that we were all intended to be light eaters. Here's some sunlight is finally coming in through we've had tons of rain, but we were intended to be light eaters, to activate our higher faculties. Remember I showed you those chakras that are like gyroscopes, and to be able to eat light through here without the intermediary of a chloroplast. Ordinarily, what we have to do is have photons from the sun fall on our planet. They are captured by a beautiful plant, and we either eat the plant or we eat an animal that eats the plant. This is an intermediary. The chloroplast is the light eater, and it is being used as an intermediary for our own body because we have artificially lost our capacity to eat pure sunlight. That is what we were designed for. So this is how we acted and behaved and lived in that antediluvian realm. This is, I'm giving you right now with this, a new software program for your organic computer. Your organic computer right now is being told on a cellular level that you are currently functioning like a steam engine. We shovel in coal, food, here. Food goes in here, and then it goes down into the cauldron of my belly. And it ferments down there, and then it creates steam power, kinetic motion for my arms and legs, and poop, which is, the waste materials. Laura's making a very good point about alcohol being one of the things that drags down human potential. There's so much that drags down human potential. We've got tons of pollution in the atmosphere. We've got tons of pollution blocking out sunlight. We've got GMOs in the food. And then I really look at alcohol as the coping mechanism for people that live a zombified existence that is so painful and torturous that they're like, just go for full anesthetic. Like, I'm a zombie that is in pain. The alcohol is then the anesthetic that makes them not feel their pain. And this is not the intended format. Like, a living hell is not the intended format for what our creator really intended for us. So our bodies, when we were first invented, were intended to be conduits connected to the stars and the stellar network. That the stars are emanators of consciousness and awareness. So first of all, I do sun gazing. I do it every day that it's possible. Every day that I can, I try to connect with some physical sunlight onto my forehead. I don't stare at the sun with my physical eyes. Sometimes I close my eyes or squint my eyes or wear a hat, but I ingest as much light as I can through here. That was what we were intended to do. But when our genes got changed about 15,000 years ago, we had to stop living in that way, and we had to learn how to kill other things and eat them. This is what is known as the fall in this current time and place. It is in the myth of the Bible as the fall of consciousness. And the Bible is really terrible. Hello, welcome, Margaret. Thank you for joining in. The story of the fall is the ultimate blame the victim scenario, where humanity is being blamed for its own, I hate to use the word victimization because it's so disempowering, but you guys did not do anything wrong. You totally got screwed in a very literal level. So in our solar system, and I get into this in the advanced level class, but I'm doing it right now, exactly. Other people call it sin, and that's blaming the victim. It's saying, you ate the apple, you did this to yourself. No, humans did not do this to themselves. About 10 or 20,000 years ago, humans were divine, perfected creatures. And that means that, like right now, when you're born as a human, for about that first year of your life, you're still connected to the divine. That numinous, oceanic, not individuated sense of self. You're connected to the whole cosmos. I'm going to tell you, that's why it feels so good to hug a little baby. You're hugging the whole entire cosmos and all of that beautiful love. But as we begin to install the human operating system is human thought. And it is the capacity to integrate with other humans here. If you don't install the human operating system, you will be considered to be mentally deficient. And this is not here to insult anyone that is developmentally disabled. Like, these are beautiful people, people who have autism or learning disabilities or whatever, any genetic degradation. These are beautiful people. And it's not that there's something wrong, but it's like trying to say, if you have a hacked operating system, if you choose simply not to download it, that means that you are locked in. You're never going to be able to integrate with other people that do run on that operating system. So it's like, if I run Windows 10 and you are running a different operating system where you have no operating system, you can't send me emails, you can't send me messages, you can't interact with me. So when you come here as a little infant, you learn pretty early on, if you want to interact with any of the other humans, you're going to have to download this operating system. And it turns out it's totally hacked. Just like Windows 10 allows Microsoft to read all of your private emails, downloading this human operating system allows the occupiers of the interstices to read your mind. Now I'm going to go back to that little thing that I was drawing, my little diagram. So we're going back to the occupiers of the interstices. This is a big, fat exaggeration diagram, right? Where we have this energy is flowing in this direction, and this energy is flowing in this direction, but it's the same membrane. It's paper thin, but we just have energy flowing in different directions on opposite sides. And the whole idea is here, if this blue dot is your consciousness. You have just been born. You lived for 1 minute and you traveled this much in time, and then you hit this membrane. This membrane is the membrane of death, and you died instantaneously. We all do this. It's like the movie Groundhog's Day with Bill Murray. It's brilliant, comedic, funny, profound movie, because after you live for 1 minute, with the first day that you're born, you die, you live for 1 minute, you then circulate back around to the beginning. The membrane of death is like a flowing waterfall that unmakes you. It's like taking a sweater. You take the thread and you pull the thread and you undo the sweater. You're not chopping up the sweater into like cutting up the yarn. You're unfurling it. Unfurl that sweater and go back to the beginning. So then you try again. Now you're born again on attempt number 2, and maybe you live for a day. You travel through time for a day, and then boom, you hit the membrane of death and circulate back around to the beginning. And then you start here, start to learn. Then maybe you live for a week, and then you hit the membrane of death. And we do this on both sides of the time vortex, filling up the whole entire thing. There's only one timeline that exits this level of reality. And I call this timeline, that what I just drew there, I call it the path of least likelihood. That is the timeline that goes up the center of this sculpture. And that is the timeline that we would say is the timeline of ascended mastery, because you do not hit this membrane of death over here. So I'm going to go back to my face so that you can see me a little bit better. That time vortex is shaped like this. And this little gap up here, it's the tiniest little centimeter you can imagine. It is only enough space. It's a wormhole that only has enough space for one possibility to get through there. And what we are doing in our life is constantly circulating through all of these possibilities in order to try to get to that one central possibility that is the exit of this realm. Here, I'll draw it again from the top down. From the top down, come on, the time vortex looks like this. It looks like an old-fashioned analog record, like for music that you put on a record player and you play with a needle. And the old-fashioned analog record has one long groove. It's one long song that spirals all the way into the middle. This is exactly what happens in the time vortex. That we're looking at a top-down version of this spiral right here, and your life spirals around like this. So Achman is saying that ascension is his objective in this lifetime. And absolutely, it is my objective too, and it's what I'm here to share with you all. We do not have to die. I'm drinking water. We have in this generation the possibility and the opportunity to change our genetic code back into what we used to be pre-flood, antediluvian. We don't have to hit the membrane of death anymore. So the whole idea is that hitting the membrane of death is seen to be an inevitability. Like if I call it changing colors so that you can see me draw better. If I call this is like the record of your life, and it's like the song of your life that you're playing on this record. Previous to this, you had to explore every single one of these possibilities because the higher faculties were not operative. Back in ancient Atlantis, our higher faculties were operative. And that means it's like saying, I can see where I'm going on the road. If I can see if this is a road going into the distance, here's the dotted line down the middle of the road. If I can see where I'm going, I don't have to veer off into the ditch over here or veer off into the ditch over here. I can go right down that road to infinity. So the idea is that it is only because humanity has not been able to use the higher faculties of seeing through time. If I spoke to ordinary people on the street right now in this time and place, and I said, hey, how would you describe the capacity to see the future? Is that normal? Is that superhuman? They'd say, that's superhuman. They'd say, that's not normal. That's not what an ordinary everyday person does. Only a special, fancy super being would have the capacity to see or know the future. The truth is, each one of us is supposed to have that capacity. That's like having a windshield. You're driving in your car and you're supposed to be able to see out of your windshield and see where you're driving on the road. The idea that we would be created in blindness and that we would have to keep on hitting the membrane of death and circulating back around and trying it again. It's like those choose your own adventure novels. If you ever read them, perhaps as a young person in school. In those novels, you get to page number 5. You find yourself walking down a street and there's, a road to the left and a road to the right. If you choose the road to the left, turn to page 24. If you choose the road to the right, turn to page 37. And different life events happen dependent upon which pages you turn to. And your life is like a choose your own adventure novel where you are constantly exploring different iterations. In math, iterations, these are different combinations of elements. So when I go back to this thing so that you can see me draw, when I draw this shape, it is full of all of the possible iterations of your life. These are all timelines. These are all timelines. And you have to go through every single possible timeline in order to figure out which one is the one that actually gets out. It's like saying you have to go through the entire Choose Your Own Adventure novel book. Turn to page 27, turn to page 34, turn to page 72. Try it again, try it again, try it again, until you find this, blue timeline that actually exits this level of reality. That is what we would call being an ascended master. So my understanding, because I know there's all this new age stuff, there's all this Messiah stuff, and I try to be impeccable with my language. My understanding of an ascended master is a human being who has been born in the physical realm and who has experienced this level of transcendence, making it through the wormhole, getting beyond the membrane of death. Absolutely, there's no trouble. If you need to take a break during the lecture, that's totally fine. We have about 15 more minutes and then I'll open the floor to any questions. But I define an ascended master as a being that has transcended this membrane of death. If you are able to activate your higher faculties, then you can transcend that membrane of death. It's just like saying this. If you have your higher faculties operational and you wake up in the morning and you're like, I'm out of coffee. I got to get some coffee. I'm going to just hop in my car and drive to the store and get that coffee. And if you can see through time, you can see the array of timelines that go forward from that decision to go out and get your coffee. And if any of those decisions end in like your car is smashed on the side of the road and you're dead, like you would not make that choice. You'd say, maybe I'll have a cup of tea this morning, or maybe I'll go out later, or maybe I'll do this or that. That's the whole point. You don't have to hit the membrane of death if you can see what you are going to run into, if you can see what is happening in the future. So all of us are on this journey to attempt to cultivate our energy to the point of unconditional love so that we can activate our higher faculties. Cultivating our energy to the point of unconditional love is the challenge of meditation. And in this class, I have lesson number 5 is all about meditation. However, I don't have to be the teacher of meditation because there are so many that are already available. The entire philosophy of Tibetan Buddhism is there for you to access if you are looking for specific techniques for how to meditate. The whole idea is if you meditate, then you save your energy and you get gas in your car, gas in your vehicle. The gas that makes us go is called unconditional love. I'm just drinking some water. So unconditional love is the tone that we make. It's a tone like music. Our heart makes this tone when we move through time at the appropriate rate. We should move through time at 1 moment per moment. If we are grasping at the future, that's anxiety. When I wonder, what's going to happen in the future? I wonder what's going to happen in the future. I'm not like Pac-Man eating my little dots at a time. I'm like Pac-Man trying to jump into the future and eat dots that aren't even here yet. And when people are clinging to the past, if they're like, I'm so sad, I'm thinking about that bad thing that happened to me 5 years ago, they are not in the moment now. They are clinging to the past. So we create this tone when we are submerged in the now. We create this tone when we are totally submerged in the now. So there's all these different approaches to do it. Some people sit, in a cross-legged position and they observe their thoughts as they float by. Some people chant a mantra. Some people perform mindfulness. Yes, the Om sound, that beautiful toning that can help to bring us into, the idea is, an abstract state of mind. The way you get beyond the hacked human operating system known as your human mind and verbalized language is to stop inner verbalizations. So you can do that with mantra, repeating it over and over and over, or with inner silence. Practice inner silence. You can practice inner silence throughout the day. And this is not the end of the goal. This is like training for the marathon. The marathon is the goal. Doing these meditation exercises is getting enough juice in your car to be able to even do this. And I don't want to end, I have about 10 minutes left. I don't want to end before getting to the answer of who occupies the interstices and where is this place and what is this. So I'm drawing this very exaggerated drawing here. If you are this little dot that goes in blue, and here this is your birth, and you move through time a little bit. Here, actually, let me say, you move through time this many dots, and then you get here, and now you are on the membrane of death. When you're on the membrane of death, you're frozen. This whole entire membrane is made of little dead versions of you. This is the version of you that went out to get the coffee in the morning and got smashed in your car. And this is a different version of you that, whatever, fell from a hot air balloon the next month when you went on a birthday celebration and the hot air balloon fell. These are all of the possible dead versions of you, okay? That's the realm of death. It is a place that you're supposed to, when you enter into here, if this is you, you're supposed to be unmade. As this water flows, the little dots of who you are supposed to go over here and then be unmade and then assemble over here to be remade. The problem is, the users of technology that emanated themselves from the source. You know, I was telling you, this is the zeroth dimension. It's the source of all consciousness. This is also like the great composer, the great conductor. So the great composer made some beautiful music for us to play. If you listen to if you're musically literate, you can read the musical score of the cosmos. You know which notes to play. And if you are a good musician, you play the right notes on the beat and you rest when you are supposed to be resting. So my audience, we are all here. We are all organic multicellular beings. We were emanated from the source, from here. Our timelines emerged from here. And we have been in our physical bodies traveling through time for whatever, 15, 20, 25, 42 years, however old you are. And we do this through love. Like you need to eat food, you need to metabolize food. All of this is love, is the energy that makes your body actually move through time. But there were beings that emanated themselves from the source, not on a bridge of love and not into organic multicellular containers. This happened eons ago. This is like ancient galactic history, and this is what I talk about in the Galactic History series. And I bring this up so that you understand the origin of the occupiers of the interstices. That the divine being, that is the great composer and the great conductor, tells everyone, now it is time for you to play. Look, I'm the conductor. Play, 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 rest. When I say play, it means go and be alive. Be alive. You get to be alive when you conform to this musical structure. If you don't play the right notes, you don't get to be alive anymore. Here's an example of not playing the right notes. If you remove all of the blood from your veins and arteries, then you're not playing the right notes. Your body can't be alive anymore. A lot of being alive and playing the right notes has to do with having the correct physical and cellular structure. And then it also has to do with emotions and thoughts and behavior and doing the right things in time. So there were beings that chose to emanate themselves, but not on the beat. They're like punk rock anarchists. Ordinarily, I'm all about individuality. Individuality is great. But these punk rock anarchists said, screw you to God. They said, screw you to the source, to the creator, to the one that emanates us and gives us everything. And they said, we're not going to go and be a part of the world of love. That's what our operating system is. We alive beings, you and me and redwood trees and microbes and butterflies, we all run on the love-based operating system of consciousness. And these other beings emanate themselves not on a bridge of love. That means they don't have to play the right notes of music. They can live in technological containers. This is the invention and creation of technology. Prior to this, technology did not have to be in existence because everybody had everything that they needed from the natural world. Everything that you were born with was all that you needed. So you did not need any technological accoutrements to do what you need to do or go where you need to go in life. However, these beings that emanated themselves needed technology. It was their compensatory mode because they don't eat pure sunlight, because they don't use love to run their cellular structure. And what basically happened was they are self-destructive beings and they keep on getting destroyed, and they didn't have any place left to go. After they destroyed planet planet Malduk. Yes, exactly, Zephyr, you're totally with me. This is ancient galactic history. So they've been throughout the entire cosmos. Our solar system is like a family, and we're like a family that has experienced horrible trauma. Other family members were raped and murdered right in front of us. This happened to planet Malduk, which is now an asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. It used to be a planet. Science recognizes that it used to be a planet. It was one of the places that was occupied by these technology-using non-terrestrial consciousnesses, and they destabilized the chakra structure or magnetic field of that planet to the point that it became a pile of rubble that is now the asteroid belt. And they did a similar level of rape and torment and destruction on both Mars and Venus. And after those beings destroyed the planet Mars, that Mars does not have a magnetosphere, a protective magnetic envelope, and that's not natural. That's exactly right, Zephyr. You know it, the Luciferian experiment. That's what this is all about. The idea of using technology to negate the necessity of God. And when I say God, I'm not speaking about Jehovah, the biblical or Christian, Judeo-Christian God. I'm speaking about the abstract, like the creator of consciousness, the creator of the phenomenon of matter, the phenomenon of energy, the creator. There are all of these scavengers that hijack what is already in existence and hack it. That's why I call them, it's a hacked human operating system. Those hackers, just like a hacker that didn't invent the computer and create the entire computer network, they just changed the code a little bit. Those hackers hacked the human operating system. So those hackers, they were on Mars, they screwed up that planet, and they didn't have another place to go. And so what they did was they jumped into the human genetic code. And this was done like the worst type of mind rape that you could imagine. It was horribly, horribly traumatic. Our entire planet was invaded by these consciousness invaders, and they caused death. I'm going to draw this so that you can see it. Before these invaders came, death did not exist. Before these invaders came, here's the trajectory of consciousness. Everybody in ancient Atlantis time, before the invaders came, this is the source of consciousness. Everybody was emanated into the physical realm, assembled, was born, lived on their ascension timeline, and then ascended back. This beautiful, it's a circle, it's an unbroken circuit, all right? That is not what has been going on since those invaders of consciousness came and essentially made our chakras go askew. Here's a different color so that you can see a color of chakras going askew, that the chakras were going askew instead of being perfectly in alignment. So now what happens is you're emanated from the source, you come here and you become a little dot, and then you have to go back, become a little dot, go back, a little dot, go back. You're filling up this whole entire area with gobbledygook instead of going back to the source. So once again, in the intended format of where our energy would go, it would come from the source around here and go right back up. There's no touching of the membrane of death. It's like no touching the electric fence. We would not interact with that membrane at all. That was not our intended format. That membrane is like our peripheral sight. So in my eyesight, right now I'm looking at my computer screen, but around the edges of my sight, I can see some movement and some basic shapes and see that there's stuff there, but I'm not staring at it. I'm looking at the areas of interest that are actually happening here. That is what our trajectory through time is supposed to be like. Here, check this out. This is the top-down view again. This is your life. This is that ascension timeline, the bullseye where you want to be. That's what we are supposed to be focusing on with our mind and our awareness and where we are going. And all of this other stuff around here, this is all supposed to be peripheral vision. Stuff that we see is going on around the edges. We see that it's going on around the edges, but we don't have to focus on it. So you can tell that those deaths are occurring, but you don't actually have to experience them. You don't actually have to focus on them or have them happen in your trajectory of experience, as opposed to what we are experiencing right now, which is going through every single possible iteration and experiencing every single possible death before we inevitably come up to that ascension timeline. So just like you always find your glasses in the last place you're looking for them because you stopped looking, that ascension timeline is the last exploration that we need to do, because that brings us out of this level of reality. So it does not mean that we stop the journey of consciousness. It just means we exit this level of reality, like we exit this level of the video game, and then we get to go to the next level of the video game, the next level of refinement. So this is how I understand the ascended masters. These are beings who have been born in a human body. They ran the marathon. That's what ascending is. It's like trying to run an energetic marathon. And they made it through that little wormhole up at the top. And they now live in a different realm, or in a different octave, or in a different frequency. Like here's the lower octave, and here's the higher octave. This is where the ascended masters live. The ascended masters live in a realm where everybody eats pure sunlight. When you get to the level of eating pure sunlight, you don't die, and the cells of your body don't die. You no longer have dead skin cells constantly coming off. You no longer have dead hair cells constantly coming off. You don't eat physical food. You don't eat other animals. You have an entirely different world. So that's why once you get to that level of development of eating nothing but pure sunlight, eating the program of conscious awareness, you don't live in this level of reality anymore. You cannot. You must go to that next level. Well, I'll wrap it up and then open the floor to questions. It is my understanding that right now what's happening on Earth is this. We are experiencing this magical transformational moment where we can now all return to being light eaters. We can now all take our chakras that are shifted to the side and realign them so that we are now in touch with this stellar network. We don't have to die. That's my big, why I'm doing these webinars, why I'm teaching people, why I'm trying to get people to understand about the flying rainbow lasagna. I talk about human religion as a control system. And I also call it the death cult. Any religion that is going to teach you about the necessity of death, even though it might appear to be a friendly thing, like you're going to die, but then you're going to go to heaven. Like you have to die, but then you'll be rescued through some savior mechanism that will then bring you to a heavenly state. And I'm telling you, that's not what our beautiful creator intended for us. Our beautiful creator intended for us to live in a state of vitality, totally connected to the stars while we are alive, and then to maintain that level of vitality, not to have to die and then circulate back around again and try again, but to do that whole unbroken loop. That's why I call it a marathon. We are doing a marathon of consciousness, or a soul migration. And you don't have to do the soul migration alone. Just like when you see geese flying in the sky, they fly like a V, they fly in formation. We, as spiritual aspirants, can do it together. We can fly in formation because we don't have to do this spiritual transformation and ascension just alone as individuals. In ancient Atlantis, we didn't do it as individuals. We all helped one another, celebrated one another, and it was like being a rock star. Like on the day you ascended. Thank you, Zephyr. Beautiful point that he made. The idea that when the geese are flying in a V, the leaders change position. It's not always that same person trailblazing in the front, because it's a lot of work flapping your wings out there, that those people circulate around to the back. And then there are new, fresh people that come to the front and blaze the trail. And that is very much how I approach this class and the idea of collaboration as opposed to competition. So I certainly do not place myself as the lone messiah. And the whole idea is sharing the concept of the flying rainbow lasagna with as many people as possible so that we can all be good musicians. I would like everybody to be an awesome musician that can both read the music of the musical score and listen to the great composer and listen to the conductor as we are being conducted, because that is how we make this beautiful harmonic interaction. It's not that much fun if you're just one musician playing alone in your garage. That's not that much fun. It's way more fun when you can interact and collaborate with others. We're doing this on a genetic level. This is what I'm trying to say. On a genetic level, I vibrate my genes like a flying rainbow lasagna. This is my song of my life. And I'm here doing it harmonically with the rest of the band. Like I'm not just trying to like do my own beat and screw everyone else up. I'm trying to harmonize with everyone else and teach other people what you can do when you do this in your own genes. Because when you do flying rainbow lasagna in your genetic code, you do not become a carbon copy of me at all. Oh, no, no. Ah, no, you achieve your own highest divine innate potential, whatever that is. So if it is for athleticism or spirituality or art, music, creativity and dance or healing or intellectual achievement, whatever it is, you might be the best BMX dirt bike rider in the entire world when you flying rainbow lasagna. That's not my aspiration or talent at all, but it might be yours, and you become flying rainbow lasagna as you become your fullest potential. So you know something? I have done a lot of speaking, and what I'm going to do is, yes, exactly. I'm going to unmute everyone. Wonderful. Now I'm unmuting everyone. Cool. And you know what? Going to probably stop the recording also because it's almost at 1 hour. An hour is a lot to upload. But I want to open the floor to everyone's different impressions because here, hold on a second. We're going to do this. Good.